All right. We'll see today a lot of military ceremony associated with Her Majesty's funeral. That's bringing someone to help us understand the significance of many of these things. Brigadier Allan Mallinson, retired British Army officer, author, historian and military obituarist at the Times newspaper. Brigadier, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Peter. Thank you.
The Queen was the Commander-in-Chief, associated with many regiments, as is her family. She was well regarded and loved by the military, but she also returned that to the military, returned that sort of affection. It's a particularly poignant day for military men and women.
Oh, yes. The burial of our former Commander-in-Chief. And for many parts of the three services, those regiments and corps for whom she was also their particular colonel, there is a very personal relationship. You know, she became colonel, for example, of the Grenadiers on her 16th birthday. And that intimate relationship with many parts of the services, annually in contact, visits and whatever, builds up over the years an enormous affection and esteem. Any commander, a commander-in-chief, commanders-in-chief at lower levels, a due loyalty, that's part of the contract, loyalty from below. And there's respect for the appointment, but respect for the person has to be earned, and my God, did she earn it. You know, right from those wartime days when she insisted on putting on uniform herself and training in a way that released one more person to go forward eventually and really count. And her personal commitment to the forces has been phenomenal, and as you say, it's being returned. You mentioned the veterans turning out in large numbers, hardly surprising.
Sorry for bumping you during your intro, Peter, but I was trying to stand up straight, as you must, around a brigadier. And today we're going to see, on one side of her coffin is going to be the world's leaders, the other side are going to be recipients of the Victoria Cross, much of the military. There's obviously great responsibility in the elected leaders, but what reverence did the Queen have for the people who served and did extraordinary things that meant she pinned medals upon them?
Well, you saw, seen in various clips, the way she personally honoured those who'd won medals by decorating them personally. And that she felt, we know, very strongly about, and she did that right up to the very end. And sometimes behind closed doors, when the circumstances of the winning of the medals, particularly for special forces, wasn't something to be broadcast. And you know, an interesting thing that I learned the other day, when the plans were being made and reviewed over the years, a contingency plan of if she died in Scotland, how would she be flown? In what way would she be flown south if the railway wasn't the right answer? And for certain technical reasons, the C-17 Globemaster aircraft was decided that this was really the only practical way of getting into Norfolk. But there was a concern, was this really appropriate for the monarch, the C-17, and coming down the ramp? So they simply asked the palace, her personally, did she have any objection? And she said, my soldiers have come home in coffins from Afghanistan and Iraq, and that aircraft, it's good enough for me.
Wow. You're a historian, a military man. There's the culmination of all of those aspects of your life in today. What's your personal reflections of this moment in time?
Do you know, it's almost as if there is some sort of hand of destiny on this, the way it is all unfolded. The perfection, the completeness of it. Her Majesty dies in Scotland. That triggers not just a surge of respect for the Union, one would hope, but it allows the people of Scotland to pay homage. It allows the Scottish aspect of army ceremonial to be put on show. And the Royal Regiment of Scotland, Balaclava Company, the company which is responsible for public duties in Scotland, did a magnificent job of reverence and ceremonial. The fact that then the Royal Air Force, one of the key of three services, they're all
particularly in
key.
the Second World War, particularly in her father's time.
Absolutely, and her father, of course, at one time had worn Royal Air Force uniform. After the First World War, he transferred to Royal Air Force for a short time after serving in the Navy. So her coffin is brought south, allows the Queen's Colour Squadron, that magnificent body of men whose drill is just, almost beyond belief and precision. It allows them to do the same honour that so many Guards of Honour have done to repatriated servicemen killed on operations. And then the rest of it here, what more is there to say other than the planning is one thing, the execution of it is another, and the practice, the intense practice that there has been over the last week is really quite something. I heard last night from one of the gentlemen at arms, that is the ancient bodyguard who will walk along in the side of the carriage. They had carried out the rehearsal in the middle of the night. And one of the things that hadn't been anticipated was the noise that 135, the old word hobnailed boots, but boots with studs in, which the sailors are wearing, holding the gun carriage. The noise that those are making really sort of drowned out the band up above and at the front of the column. And therefore they find it very difficult to keep step, to hear the drum beat. So there was an adjustment made to where the band was. So that sort of thing, you can sit at a desk and plan these things for years, but until you actually suddenly experience that, who would have thought?
It's extraordinary.
Yeah, Brigadier, an absolute privilege to speak to you. You can see the pride that you have in the services today, and she's well and truly worth it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.